Okay, next. Now, look what we're going to cover next. I bet you never knew about this. That you could get, why don't you show number 12, Eric, how to legally get money from your congressman. That's right. You know, Congress is giving away money to everybody. Well, now you can get legal money. They could give it to you legally, just like everybody else. Now, I got a series, okay, a little lesson time here. I got a series of slides we're going to go through just to educate you about what's going on with our elected officials and things like that, because it's something you really have to start using. Let me show you what lobbyists are all about in this country. Why don't you show 13, Eric? Okay, this is data that just came out. Now, on the left-hand side, it shows you how much is spent by lobbying. And this is just in Washington, D.C. You know, and it's like doubled in the last 10 years. So the stuff that's spent on lobbying is doubled. And on the right is the number of lobbyists we have. And that has stayed the same. So in other words, people around the country, these are the big fat cats, are spending twice as much money to try to influence, the Congress in the last, 10 years as a lobbyist. So their income has doubled. So the average lobbyist now is getting like $266,000 a year. That's where the money goes, because they can't really bribe, the elected officials, so they get that money. So that's why lobbyists are, a hell of a job. That's why so many congressmen, elected officials, if they don't get reelected, they go across the street and become a lobbyist and make a heck of a lot more money. Okay, the next slide, Eric, number 14. This is interesting. It shows you the wealth of congressmen. How much money is a congressman or senator worth? Okay, back in 2004, if you were a Republican member of Congress, and Congress really means senators and the House of Representatives, a Republican was worth $1 million and a Democrat was only $647,000, about half. Now look what happened. Since the recession back in 2008, the Republicans, I guess they were all invested in the stock market because their earnings took a dive, And now, but everyone's now equal and worth about $1 million. So we have the average elected official up on Capitol Hill has a net worth of $1 million. So they're all millionaires. That's why I try to, this is supposed to be Congress of the people, by the people, or whatever it is. Man, well, these people are all millionaires. Maybe $1 million isn't what it used to be back in whenever it was. Okay, the next slide, number 15, Eric. This shows outside income. Okay, congressmen are allowed to make money. Eric, the next slide. Congressmen are allowed to make the money outside. Okay, you see how that's almost tripled, in the last 8 years. So, or 6 years, actually, 2004, 2010. So they're triple. So these people on Capitol Hill are making lots of money outside. So the point is, I think everyone out there, you can be just as important as a lobbyist if you learn how to use the system. It's important to learn the system. I mean, see, that's right. Your elected officials are very important in this country on how this country runs, where the money goes. Don't forget, the government, it represents like a third of everything, more than that, almost 35, 36, 7% of everything in our country is government. So that money, is dispersed, and it's done through the political process and run by the congressmen and senators. So that's why the people always stay in power. They know that. Rich people know that. That's why they're tripling their investment in trying to influence Congress on lobbyists, because they want a bigger piece of the pie. Now, I believe that the average person, can get their slice. The average person, the Congress gives out about $20,000 in programs to the average family. That's 20 grand. So you're not after millions and millions. You just want your 20 grand back. And you don't have to hire a lobbyist who makes $250,000 to call a congressman for you, because Congress knows that your vote is just as important as some fat cat. Sure, the fat cat's going to give him money, but you're going to give him a vote. And if you call up a congressman's office and ask them for a favor, and they get you, whether it's a grant or whatever it is, they know that you'll vote for that son of a bitch no matter what they do, and you'll tell their friends or whatever and everything. And what Shane said earlier about get a letter when you want a grant and you're applying for a grant somewhere, go to your elected official and ask them to write a letter. Now, show number 16, Eric. This is a letter from Senator Gillibrand. Now, she took over Hillary Clinton's senator post. Okay, on her website, she's saying, okay, if you or your organization wants to be awarded a grant or whatever, send us a description of your organization, a summary of the application, a description of what the money will be used for, and a draft letter of support. So you send the senator or the congressman, whoever it is, a letter saying what you want them to tell the agency so they give you the money. So they'll probably edit it a little bit or whatever, but they want, they help you. That's what it is. And I believe I grew up in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania, and I would have no idea that this was available, for an average person. As Shane said that today, earlier, yes, you use these suckers. You're paying for it. They're getting a lot of money. And see, the fat cats know that. The lobbyists making $250,000 a year, they're using them. That's all they do in town is use these people. That's what it's all about. See, and they'll pick up your phone call too, just like a lobbyist. Maybe they won't get invited to a free golf trip in Australia from you, but you'll vote for the sucker if they help you. And that's what they're for. Show the next one. Now, the other thing, 17, Eric, the other thing, 17, is that you can casework. If you have a problem with an agency, a problem with funding, a problem with anything, look at this is on the same senator's website. It says, if you encounter a problem involving the federal government agency or federally subsidized benefit that you have not been able to successfully call the senator, staff of constituent liaisons will be able to assist you. They have people on their staff. That's all they do is make the system work for you, okay? That's what they do. So why call me? I'm going to charge you $20 or $50 or whatever it is. You call the elected official. You don't have to call me. You have to know to call these people. And they have a staff who are getting paid more than my researchers, to help you. And go to the next one, 18, Eric. The next one, 18, and you'll see the kinds of things they help with. Okay, unemployment issues. If you have you worry about disability benefits, employer-provided health care plans, and COBRA. So you're getting screwed over by your employer in a health care plan. Family Medical Leave Act. You're not getting, the 2 months or the 2 weeks or whatever it is for medical leave. Pensions, you're getting messed over on. Unemployment benefits, you think you should be getting more. Federal and state workers' comp, you're getting messed over. Or retirement-related issues. You can call them up and they'll fight for you for free. Now listen, even if they lose, you got to try the free one first. Okay, how about consumer affairs? This is another issue. You can call them up if you have problems trying to modify your home loan. Who isn't? You can't get a hold of a bank unless you take them to dinner. Insurance claims, consumer products you've been screwed over on, environmental regulations, air quality or water contaminant, immigration issues. If you know somebody from overseas, they probably have an issue like that. Go to number 19. Eric. Veterans benefits, anything to do with veterans. Remember, there's people on their staff there to fight the bureaucracy for you, and the bureaucracy is afraid of the elected officials because that's where their money comes from. The budget for every bureaucracy comes from the legislator, these elected officials. So that's why they have special phones just for when the congressmen and senators call. Because when you and I call, we have to go in the front door. When the congressman and senator goes, they go in the back door. IRS issues, you feel unfairly treated, man, you call them. Military issues, go to the next one, Eric, number 20. Healthcare issues. Anything with your Medicare, Medicaid, health insurance problem, insurance providers, the insurance company, your nursing home, hospitals, prescription drugs, all the Social Security. I mean, that's pretty obvious to people. Social services, anything, like you're not getting your money for paying for your heating bills and things like that. I mean, go to these people. Show number 20. Let's go. I have a video here. Wait, I can set up this little video I have. I went out and interviewed an elected official. It's a state rep. He'll tell you how they help a people. So here, let's run that video. That's number, you know what it is, right here. Well, introduce yourself. And you are?
I am Jean Talley.
And what do you do here, Jean?
I am the legislative assistant for Delegate Joseph Bartlett.
That's him?
I am Joe Bartlett.
That is my boss.
In the flesh.
And your full name and title?
My name is Joe Bartlett, and I am a member of the House of Delegates representing District 4A, which is Northern Frederick County. State of Maryland.
And you've been doing this a while.
I've been doing this for almost 12 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
It must be hard to stay elected that long.
Well,
you must be doing good constituency services.
I'm trying. We're trying. We're trying. It's a priority of ours, certainly.
Yeah. And that's what I really want to talk about is like, I think, because this is national, so as a representative of a representative, how people can use offices like this, to help their government, to use their government or whatever. Mm-hmm. So I hear that you're the ace constituent service person in the office.
Well, I do have some. I do have some years of experience with constituent service work.
Now, what? Maybe people don't even know what constituent services mean. What does that mean?
How does one define constituent service? I would typically define it as an outreach. Okay. Using delegates or any legislator, but in this case, of course, Delegate Bartlett's influence, okay? And, of course, that influence is only attained through his hard work at becoming an elected official, his capacity as delegate. Through his influence, I'm able to place calls on behalf of constituents, whether they call the office or walk in the door, and who are experiencing difficulties. At times, by the time they call this office, they are extremely frustrated with their inability to get through to state government agencies.
I see. Like, what kind of examples could you relate to?
Okay, absolutely. Examples. Of late, we have had innumerable people contacting this office regarding unemployment cases. All right.
So they want you to give them a job, or what?
They would love for me to.
So that's what all those people are all for. How do you help them?
Well, I help them in various ways. Of course, initially I find out what the problem is. Generally, they are not receiving their unemployment benefits.
I see.
Okay, so I would ensure that individual has filed online, because it is imperative that one becomes unemployed that they file online. Okay, using the state of Maryland's website, and file bi-weekly, even if they are not receiving benefits. It's imperative that they still file a bi-weekly claim. Right? So
that you help them show and understand the system.
Right.
I would then, absolutely, once I made certain that they were doing that, then I would initiate a call to the unemployment office.
Oh, I see. So you
and
actually
in this
call them.
case, absolutely.
Yeah.
I have developed contacts in just about, I don't want to say every Department of State government, but a myriad, most of them, okay? And I really depend on and count on the contacts whom I've made to assist Delegate Bartlett and I in resolving constituent issues. And I'm very happy to relate that more often than not, 99.9% of the time, the people with whom I deal in state government, the contacts that I have made, they're very receptive to our calls, unlike a person picking up the phone just from their household. Very receptive to our calls, and ensure that my call is channeled to the right person in order that I can delve into, okay, what is the problem with this person's unemployment claim? Why is this person not getting their benefits? One in particular that comes to my mind is a young man who walked into this office approximately 4 months ago, and he had his first regrettable an offense. It was a DUI back in 2007, and here we are, 2009. All right, and this young man was 25 years of age, and here again, it was. He had fulfilled all his obligations with MVA, and yet they were not willing to give him his license back, to reinstate his license. And it's what happens there is that I guess the amount of work that a certain office gets in this particular department can at times be overwhelming because the state has had to cut back on the numbers of employees. And when one gets themselves in a situation where they've lost their license, it is necessary for them to complete a packet of information. That packet of information is there's a lot of it. There's probably 25 pieces of paperwork that need to be completed, okay, and completed sufficiently and adequately, submitted back to the Medical Advisory Board at MVA, reviewed by the Medical Advisory Board there, so that they may be assured that this young man has overcome his problem, and that we can put him back in.
So he didn't know about the whole
privileges.
paperwork, and he just heard no, he can't get his license.
Actually, he did know about the paperwork, and he actually had employed an attorney.
Wow.
All right. When there is an attorney, when we have a constituent who has an attorney, it is necessary for me to contact that attorney, to call him personally, and ensure that this office may intercede. Okay. On behalf of his client or constituent, all right?
And usually that's just fine with the attorney,
Absolutely.
right? Because
they welcome it.
I see.
Because they're trying to get through the bureaucratic red tape and have not
and
been
use all the
able
help they
to.
can get,
I
kind of
see.
thing.
So you were able to make the machine work.
He has his
for you.
license back now.
Oh, I see. Wow.
Awesome.
He actually hired
He's had it. Oh yeah, he had his
Do
license.
you think he need to hire that attorney? That's okay. How about some other kind? We all know a lot of attorneys.
Right.
Would you like me to share another one with you?
Yeah.
All right. We had a lady walk into this office who was overcome with medical bills. All right. And also
That's
she
prevalent nowadays. Yeah. And half the people that are in foreclosure or bankruptcy are because of medical bills.
Is that right? Wow.
And
Yes,
75%
that is
of
correct.
those that are in bankruptcy, because of medical bills, have insurance. So they even have insurance.
Well, in that case, we shouldn't have that problem. should we?
Exactly. So go ahead. So they had a bunch of medical bills and they walked in.
and she was in quite despair. She was crying.
Yeah.
And she brought her 3 children into the office. And what I did is I reached out to, I recall discussing the case with Delegate Bartlett in Annapolis. And so this office wrote letters on behalf of her.
Right.
Just appealing to the different medical facilities to whom she owed the money, appealing that they just look at the case very carefully, very thoroughly, and if in fact they found it suitable to waive any of the outstanding balances, that's all we asked for, is that they just thoroughly look at it. And it turned out very well.
Good.
Really? Oh, good for
Absolutely.
you. Oh, that's remarkable. I mean, I don't know about you, but I mean, that's just, what else are you here to do?
I really don't.
Is this the case where I talked to the president of the hospital?
That is correct. I didn't know if I should say that.
Yeah, sure.
Yes.
Wow.
We contacted the president of one of the hospitals, and he just wanted to discuss the case with me for some reason.
Right.
I called him up. We had a very frank discussion about this particular person's performance and being willing to work with them on the resolution of this bill. They didn't feel like she was willing to work with them. They wanted to see some kind of good faith effort on her behalf to show, that she was actually willing to work on a resolution of this. And after the end, maybe that half-hour frank discussion, I think we reached a resolution to that case. And I called Gina and I told her to tell this particular person that she needed to show some good faith, and I think they're both.
She needed to make a few payments, just $20, very, very, very minimal payments. All right.
And just show that she was willing to work with the system and work within the system.
Instead of just hiding, but people don't know what to do.
Right.
Exactly.
Boy, that's phenomenal. You can take the rest of your
Very
life.
gratifying.
I mean, when you solve a problem like that, that's what I think is great about the business.
It makes you feel good inside, and that's a lot what I like about this job is that we're able to affect people's lives in a very meaningful way, and there's nothing more special than that.
No, absolutely. No, that's what I like about what I do. You have another one?
Yeah, absolutely.
She says yes to everything.
Yes, certainly. I have just innumerable. A mother goes to her mailbox one day. A mother who is totally dependent upon child support, only to see that she's received a letter from the Department of Social Services relating that they have to terminate her benefits, child support payments. Okay, she has 3 children, and very upset, and she's crying because how is she going to sustain her children? Okay. Also, the department was looking at terminating food stamps as well. Okay. In conclusion, what I will say about this case is that, of course, made innumerable calls to my contacts within Frederick County Department of Social Services, and they worked with me extremely well. And we were able to get the father of the children's wages garnished.
No kidding.
Yeah, we'll get the wages garnished. Okay, very fortunately, he was gainfully employed. Wages garnished, all right. And the only reason why they were thinking or had notified her that her food stamps and perhaps Medicaid was going to be terminated was because the paperwork had become misplaced. So we just resubmitted the paperwork. She faxed it to me. I faxed it to them. And, and we all, I think, in life have our most memorable times. I will never forget the time when I could hand a $9,000 check, okay, to a constituent for from the uninsured workers fund
really?
in the state of Maryland.
Awesome.
Yeah. And it was 2 days before Christmas.
Wow, you're like
that was the best Christmas ever, wasn't it?
You come up to their house with a big check.
That was the best Christmas for everybody.
$9,000.
Wow.
And it was monies due.
Wow.
Due the claimant. He had, it was probably a case that was 5 years old.
Yeah. And you were able to finagle that through and get it.
I worked with the uninsured insurance fund in the state of Maryland, and worked with the attorney. Yeah. And we got it done.
Wow, that's terrific.
I'll give you a quick example of one. We had, this was several years ago, we had a family who lost a son in an automobile accident on the Eastern Shore. He had lived here and moved to the Eastern Shore. Son had a wife and a couple of kids, and they had just bought a house on the Eastern Shore. And repairs were needed to the house for it to qualify for the loan. And the lender had told this family, unless you make these repairs, you're going to lose the house.
I mean, he had the house already?
Well, they're in the process of buying the house.
Okay, right.
And the house had to qualify for FHA or whatever it was.
Right.
And they had been told by the lender that they could not make any exceptions, and that the repairs had to be made within 60 days or whatever it was, or they were going to lose the house. So they were coming up against this deadline. They called me up, and I called the lender up and just said, please. I mean, these people just lost a member of their family. Give them a little bit of time to get their act together here. And they're going to get it together. I mean, they've been out there working every weekend and after work for the last couple of months to get this done. Lender said, sure, we'll give them 6 months. Wow. And it was just that easy for me, whereas they had been told, they'd been told, no, we're not going to do it, So.
And like the hospital bill from the lady who came in here, I mean, what I see is no doesn't really mean no.
Right.
No means try again a different way. Get some backup and try again, with somebody by your
Think
side.
of another way to do that.
Right, exactly.
And that we all take, if they said no,
well, sometimes no is ultimately going to be no, but we're going to make sure that no is no. If no ends up being no, then you can be assured that we've done everything within our power to make sure that it was going to be yes.
Well, that's amazing. So even when somebody tells you no,
right.
You can tell us.
You just take that as a maybe.
Exactly.
Yeah. I'll tell you when it's no, exactly. I guess. But.
That's wonderful. Well, thank you for being here.
Absolutely.
Wonderful. And you too.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Wow. Oh, what do you think of those stories? I mean, they're fantastic. I mean, there's two bureaucrats. One's an elected official, so he has the power. The other one is their assistant, who's just an employee, whatever. But you could understand how she has contacts in the bureaucracies that she talks to all the time to solve problems. Like she solved the DWI problem. The person who had unemployment, and needed more. How about the health care bill they couldn't get rid of? And they got it down like for $20 or something like that. Very little anyway, that it went away, and they had all these healthcare bills she helped with. Or how about the child support, with 3 children, and this woman on the staff is able to call that agency and make things happen like you and I could never. Or how about the $9,000 she gave as a Christmas gift to somebody? Put up that last slide, 22. So use your elected official. You don't have to be a fat cat, and hire some hotshot lobbyists to do this. Here, for the representatives, you go to house.gov. You have one representative where you live. For the senator, you have 2 senators. So go to senator.gov and you put in your zip code or whatever, and you find your local people. And for your state elected officials, you Google and just put Google state elected officials, and you go to Lesko.com and go to non-member section. I have videos. You can watch a longer video of that interview I showed with that elected official. But thanks for coming in there. I hope you learned at least one decent thing today. And we covered out a lot of neat topics that you should be knowing about all this stuff, because you pay for it whether you use it or not.